We are on page 63. After you finish the embedded assessment, we're changing the focus a little bit of the unit, still talking about coming of age, but we're going to start talking about advertising. I'd just like you to follow along as I read the learning focus here for the next part of Unit 1. How can you appeal to readers? Consider a typical week in your life. How many decisions do you think you make that are affected by advertisers' attempts to persuade you, meaning to get you to do something they want you to do? What areas of your life are most influenced by advertising, and not just television advertising, radio, things that are on the internet, pop-up ads, anything you read in magazines? Stuff you see on television is not the only advertising you see. Now think about your reading habits and the reading habits of your peers. Is it possible to use the power of advertising to influence teenagers' reading choices? The next articles give you an opportunity to find out. You've already studied voice, which is the reader's attitude towards the subject, which you've done an embedded assessment on in terms of finding the voice of someone you've interviewed, and you've looked at the voices of many people in the written text reviews, 11 Oranges Cut, for instance, and what coming of age means, the maturity, and you've interviewed someone, including your teacher, someone from outside, someone in your class, and you've looked at interviews as well. So you have a complete and thorough knowledge of those, and you've completed an almost completed reading a coming of age novel, which you should have done in 1.6. So that's complete at this time as well. Now you continue your interviewing skills by interviewing peers about their reading preferences. Then you'll advertise techniques that you encountered in earlier grades. In addition to advertising techniques, though you'll learn about rhetorical appeals of ethos, pathos, and logos, and the way they work together with advertising techniques to persuade an audience. Finally, you will put all these pieces together as you work with a group to create an advertising campaign for your novel. Can you use advertising techniques and rhetorical appeals to persuade your peers to read your book? Here's your chance to discover just how persuasive you can be. So let's turn to page 80 now, just to look quickly at what the Embedded Assessment 2 is all about. You're going to be creating an ad campaign for your novel, or the novel within your group. Your assignment is to work with a group to create an advertising campaign for your independent reading novel, of which your group will have read 4 novels, different ones. You'll have to choose which one you want to work with and you think is going to be best. And you're going to campaign using 2 or 3 of the media genres, which we'll explain, and that you've examined in this unit. And both media genres must be geared towards your classmates as the target audience. Your project will also include written analysis and persuasive techniques and advertising claims that you use. So you're going to be doing presentation and writing in terms of persuading someone to read your novel, to learn about advertising techniques. Alright, so we're back to page 64, and we're going to end up reading something about marketing here in just a second, but what you need to do is think about the kinds of things you read outside class, and list the titles of some of the books or texts you read recently. You have a lot from first part of this unit, your novel, and anything else you may have read. And that includes newspapers, internet articles, whatever. So go ahead and log that there.
That computer is that, mister?
So based on your list and your class discussions, you're going to create a list of questions you can use to interview some of your peers who are not in this class about the kind of books and texts, kind of like a little survey. This is something you're going to have to do outside of class, but you just need to write the questions right now. Number 3, after conducting your interviews, compare the findings with those of the members of your group. Synthesize and create the findings and create a chart of graph that displays your results. So this is going to be something you're going to have to do out of class. So 3 and 4 will be homework. You can do this in any class. Humanities class would be a good place to do this. Finally, you're going to read the following article about marketing books to teens. We're going to do that now and do this a little bit out of order so that we don't have to stop completely. While you're reading, make text-to-self connections and take notes in the margins on whether or not you agree with the points made in the article. So let's go to the text here. I'm going to read this as if marketing to older teens, and I'm going to do some of my thinking and give you some places with which to mark the text. Alright, so As If, Marketing to Older Teens by Judith Rosen. This is going to be about marketing and help you to understand some some of the things that advertisers do to help persuade you out of your money. So I'm just going to read, and I'll stop here and there to take notes, give you where I think you should mark the text. So we're writing notes on this side over here, and we're marking the text as much as possible, and I expect to see that in all of your texts. U.S. teens controlled an estimated $169 billion in disposable income last year. And if you remember right, I showed you the PowerPoint last week on what $1 billion is, or $91 per week per teen, according to the study by Teenage Research Unlimited. But publishers trying to grab a share of that cash face stiff challenges. Teens are very savvy, meaning they're smart, and they have a cynical radar, meaning they're thinking the worst most of the time. Marketers have to get around that with marketing that doesn't seem like marketing, says Boston College sociology professor Juliet Score, author Born to Buy, The Commercialized Culture of the New Consumerism. Still, there's reason to think teens could be enticed or persuaded to buy a lot more books, says Hollywood-based youth culture expert Sharon Lee, co-president and co-founder of market research firm Look Incorporated. The firm did a recent study in which teens cited writing as one of their main creative outlets. They also said their ideal activity, or their favorite activity, is reading a book, followed by exercising and shopping. I don't know if that's true, but we'll see. That's the idea, so there's my thinking. I don't know if that's true. I'm a little skeptical of the fact that teenagers' favorite activity is reading a book, followed by exercising and shopping. But that's what this study says, so we'll follow along. That's the ideal. In reality, according to the study, teens are much more likely to spend their free time surfing the internet. Okay, here's the reality. Watching TV and listening to music. I look at it as a huge opportunity, Lee says. The desire to read, the desire to write, the desire to engage with words is there. Seeking to translate that desire into sales, publishers are using a variety of strategies ranging from the tech-heavy to traditional with a twist, all tailored to reach those wary but free-spending 14 to 19-year-old consumers, which are you guys. Free spending, meaning you don't really think about the money that you're spending. Cell phones. Hoping the teens who walk around with cell phones pressed to their ears could be persuaded to sit down with their noses in a book, HarperCollins is running a text messaging promotion starting next week for Meg Cabot of Princess Diaries fame. Teen readers can get news on the mobile about the release of her new novel, Ready or Not, an all-American girl novel, and about her monthly online chats. There's also a cell phone screensaver promoting Cabot's books as well as a ringtone with her voice. Harper is not the first to try a dial-up campaign, meaning the text messages and advertisements. In January, Random House is using text messaging to promote the paperback edition of the third book in Anne Brashar's Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants series, Girls in Pants. They've done a third one of those? Oh boy. The biggest shift in marketing is how important online marketing has become. So online marketing, meaning the internet, says Random House Children's Books VP of Marketing Daisy Klein. We think of driving traffic to our site as hanging on to a reader a little bit longer and having an opportunity of introducing a reader to another author. Random credits the cell phone promotion, coupled with advanced movie trailers for the film, with sending traffic to Sisterhood's website soaring 400% higher in the first quarter of the year than during the previous 3 months. That means 4 times the people visited that site. And that's a lot, because they have advertisements there and they're making money, keeping you engaged in their website. After years of experimenting, publishers and authors have become more sophisticated or smarter about using the internet to reach readers. A few years ago, it was all about developing a presence, said Kara Glass, Associate Director of Internet Marketing for Harcourt. Now you're budgeting for advertising on the internet and keyword searches. For authors, the web provides a way to connect directly with fans. When asked about what prompted her to market her books via laurenmiracle.com website, the author responded with a question of her own. Am I marketing? I'd never want to be an Amway salesman for my own books. My job is to tell the best stories I can and let people know that writers are just people. Miracle plans to IM Instant Message with her teen fans this fall to promote TTFN, Ta-Ta for Now, Abrams. Ta-Ta for Now, that's a very old way to say that. 30,000 teens have signed up to receive information on Cabot's book through HarperCollins' Author Tracker email program. In addition, Cabot receives as many as 200 emails a day when one of her books is first released, and young people avidly read her blog. I was very resistant at first to keep a blog, said Cabot. I thought it would take too much time from my real writing. After I found out how much increased traffic on my website, I was like, okay. Cabot even started with her own online book club with 8,500 members, and many selections are her own titles. Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, author of Alice McKinley series, posts emails from young people who look to her as an Ann Landers for teens. Emails come to the website, and I read them every day, says Naylor, who spends about an hour a day answering teen queries. Tell me that they feel that they can ask me anything. They're terrified of doctors and pelvic exams, they say. Even though I love my mother, I'm too embarrassed to ask. CDs are hardly cutting-edge technology, but publishers are still finding new ways to use them to reach teen consumers. This spring, Harper produced 60,000 CD samplers with 10 authors' reading selections from upcoming titles. The CDs, which are tucked inside booklets about the Harper list, are mailed to book and audio buyers and to consumers who ordered from the Alloy catalog. Now, CDs are extremely cheap, so that's why they're sending these out. I'm not even sure. Well, computers I still play them, but probably none of you have CD players anymore, so I don't know how valuable that is. Anyway, Harper's is starting to introduce bonus CD packages with books. Then example best-selling novelist Louise Rennison's May release, Then He Ate My Boy in Trancers, contains a tell-all CD on which Rennison answers fan questions. So remember, over here in the notes column, you should be doing things like note specific ways items are marketed to teens and making connections to your own lives. When you recognize something that's happened to you or something you're part of, maybe you do these online book clubs, maybe you've listened to the CDs, maybe you've read the blogs, maybe you've emailed the authors. Those are notes that you want to put over here, and the more the better. Here we are, where teens are. Offline marketers are following the simple rule. Take your message to where the teens are. Tara Lewis, VP of Global Marketing for Disney Global Children's Books, has seen a jump in sales from Bible marketing, such as providing T-shirts, stickers, and posters to Ned Vizzini to promote the hardcover edition of his book, Be More Chill. This fall, she's working on finding a way to ensure that bat mitzvah attendees who attend the ladies' room find postcards for Fiona Rosenblum's "You Are So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah." Bat mitzvah. That's the female version of the bar mitzvah. Last spring, Abrams staffers distributed copies of 2 April releases from his year-old Amulet paperback Ya line. Lauren Miracle's TTYL, Talk to You Later, and William Schleter's The Boy Who Couldn't Die, the teens gathered outside MTV's Total Request Live in Times Square. That's not to say that tried and true book promotions don't work. Amulet's Jason Wells believes that 700 book displays for 2 of Miracle's titles help push TTYL onto bestseller lists. Scholastic reaches out to young people via marketing partnerships with teen catalog companies like Delia and Alloy, as well as through clothing and jewelry stores. If you have the right property, you can get into new accounts like Urban Outfitters or Hot Topic, says Scholastic's Jennifer Passanen, who has placed Jim Benton's It's Happy Bunny books in both. Red Wheel, Weiser, Canary also found a teen audience at those stores for humorous, edgy books originally conceived for adults. President Michael Kerber attributes 30% of the sales for Voltaire's What is Goth? That's Voltaire, is a very old author, hundreds of years old, and Hot Topic and Urban Outfitters, which have taken strong positions on this fall's follow-up, Paint It Black, a guide to Gothic homemaking. Page 68. Bookstore events. It's true, teen turnouts for bookstore events tends to be so sparse that many retailers don't even bother. But don't count bookstores out as a way to reach teens who come out for the right event. Brazos Bookstores in Houston brought Laura Milking and former Houstonian Laura Moser in for a reading and sold 350 copies of their book, The Rise and Fall of the 10th Grade Social Climber. I've learned early on that when there's a good book by a local author with supportive parents, usually expectations don't apply, says owner Carl Killian. In this case, Moser's parents, former owners of the now defunct children's bookstore Stop, Look, and Learn, which was located a few blocks from Brazos, supplied their own personal mailing lists. Barring those kinds of connections, group readings show promise. Okay, I may be repeating something here, but we're going to go on right here on barring. Barring those kinds of connections, group readings show promise. It's always hard to get an audience, says Barnes & Noble children's buyer Joe Monte, who used to do book readings with 3 or 4 authors. This spring, he discovered that by increasing the number of writers to 11, he could attract a bigger crowd. The more the merrier, says Monte. It gives the reading more the feeling of a party. We're very selective about who we put on tours, adds Elizabeth Uhlberg, Director of Publicity for Little Brown Books for Young Readers. Selective, very selective, meaning they're very picky. They don't just throw people out there because they care about the image that they're trying to portray. And that's part of the That's part of the persuasion. Which back here, which is why we work with bookstores that work with schools. One little brown author who will be hitting the traditional tour circuit at Halloween is Cirque du Freak writer Darren Shan, whose new YA series Demonata launches in October with Lord Loss. For lesser-known authors on the list, Uhlberg is talking with other publishers about arranging joint tours with authors with compatible books. Kind of like when you go to a concert and they have an opening act. Like the big act is, whoever, if Hannah Montana is showing up, and they're going to have some girl that just barely come out. It would have kind of the same type of music, but a little bit different way. So they're promoting other authors with bigger authors. And this guy, Darren Shan, writes these Cirque du Freak books, which are, you got to be careful because these types of books are form books, where he pretty much uses the same plot every time, and just changes the characters. So, just be careful of what they're sending out to you. Anyway, some predict that the iPod broadcasting could be next. In the meantime, Little Brown may have found the best use for MP3 players as a monthly giveaway on its website to promote its chick lit titles. From the bookseller perspective, it's still not enough. I don't think publishers' marketing has caught up to the hunger of the audience, says B&N's Monty. Just how hungry that audience really is will probably become a lot clearer later this summer when the most anticipated YA book in history is released, Christopher Paolini's Eldest. So what you should have here is a lot of text marking, a lot of notes taken, and you're looking at things about ways that teens are marketed to, and you can look at all of the examples within this text. Go back and underline them, make sure you found them, discuss it with your classmates, and make sure that you understand all the ways that book publishers market towards teens.